Loud.
Coming to you live from the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios, it's the Cigar Pulpit.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm the Bishop of the Burn, Nick, and with me today, we have Kenn Klarich of Ash Ale in Palm Coast, Florida. How you doing, Kenn?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you today?
I'm great. And Kenn is joining me from Florida to give me his thoughts, recap his perspective, and let's talk PCA, because the PCA Trade Show just wrapped up the other day, and you were there.
I was there. My body feels it right now too. That was a that was a fun time in Vegas. We had a blast.
A lot of after party activity taking place.
There was, unfortunately, I didn't go to any. I only went to one event with PCA. It was my wife and my daughter's birthday. So we spent a lot of time out there with them as well, doing different events at night. So the days were mine at PCA, and then the nights were theirs.
There you go. That's good. Kind of mix the business and the pleasure a little bit there.
Exactly.
All right. Well, before we get into all the fun of the trade show talk, let's fire up a cigar. And today we're smoking something that you sent to me. We are smoking a cigar from Didier Cigars. And this is the, what is this? This is the Jill collection?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about this?
I can try. DDA is a micro boutique out of Miami that is a very, very high-end, hand-rolled broadleaf, all Nicaraguan cigar that's fantastic. I was reading an article one day about the gentleman and his cigars, and I literally was opening my shop one morning, a few days after I opened, and there he was standing outside my door walking around the market that's around our village every Sunday. And I went over and I introduced myself. He came in. I asked if he could just talk to me about his cigars. He went out and brought all of his product in, did a full sales pitch, and I wound up carrying his line. And now it's one of my better selling lines. But it's a truly amazing, amazing line.
Fantastic.
The one we're smoking today is a Maduro Habano, and it's sourced from select areas in Nicaragua and Esteli area region.
Okay.
But it's an amazing constructed cigar. Wait till you try the draw on this. And you're going to have to forgive me because I am not as good as you, but I know you're not as good as Gator as well on the retro hails, but I don't do those. So I'll watch you do them.
That's all right. You'll watch my head explode. That's all right. So why don't we go ahead and get this guy cut and going here? And the official cutting is brought to you by Dan the Man Ponder over there at Riverman Cigar Company. Dan the Man Ponder, he's been putting in his PCA orders, getting all kinds of fun stuff ordered and prepped and ready for the shelves. And so, guys, you know, aside from the fantastic selection he's already got, be on the lookout for all kinds of new fun stuff rolling in at Riverman Cigar Company. And the thing is, you're going to want a relationship with your brick and mortar retailer. I'm sure, Kenn, you have your regular customers that, you know, they have their good relationship with you.
Yes, that's a very good point, though. The better the relationship, the better quality products that you usually wind up getting. So
there you go.
The more they know your name and the face, the better it usually winds up for you.
So it's one of those things, guys. If you don't have a brick and mortar shop, Dan does do mail orders, so you can give him a call and you can strike up a relationship that way. It can be a long distance relationship. Yeah, it all works.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch your back.
There you go. So it's Riverman Cigar Company of Crestwood, Missouri. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut my cigar.
Me too.
There you go. So get this going. Now, Kenn, it's been a hot minute since you and I chatted on the cast. How's things been going down there at Ash Ale?
Truthfully, it has been going fantastic. The store has done extremely well. We are in our slow season or coming out of our slow season right now and hopefully building back up. But the store itself has done extremely well since taking over. I guess it's right at 9 months ago now.
Okay.
So, which is hard to believe. Almost 10 months now that I'm thinking about it, because I only have August and then September 1st is my 1 year. So it's done really well and going very, very quickly.
Interesting. I find it interesting that you're coming out of your slow season, because this is the time of year that the whole rest of the country is going crazy with cigars, and then the
Yep.
wintertime is the slow season. But I guess that makes sense that Florida, summertime, when it's just stupid balls hot out, you guys would be slow when it's just too hot out, whereas in the
Exactly.
wintertime you'd be doing all right.
Yeah, because we have all the snowbirds that come down here. So about 2/3 of all of the Northeast is living in Florida for about 5 months.
Interesting. That's definitely not something I ever considered. Fascinating. All right. Well, on the cold draw on this Didier, I get a distinct kind of sweetness to it, kind of a not a heavy raisiny sweetness, but there is a light kind of sweetness component to the tobacco flavor.
I definitely agree. That raisin is prominent. It almost goes into a fig.
Mm-hmm.
And then it has a little bit of that sweetness that comes through just from the natural of the nature of the wrapper that we're using. And then to me, it has a little bit of a leathery and a good smoky flavor.
Yeah. So kind of a nice smoked raisin.
Yes.
I like it. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm firing mine up.
If you insist.
I want to have a cigar today. So let's fire these up and let's talk PCA, because I have been on the phone talking with all sorts of friends that are retailers, manufacturers, reps, brokers, just whoever, trying to get my collect a general feel of the show, because unfortunately I just for a lot of different reasons wasn't able to make it this year, and so it was one of those things where I'll admit I had a really bad case of FOMO going all weekend long, looking at everybody's Instagram and Facebook posts and seeing all the fun. But it's one of those things I wanted to try and collect as much information from others as I could. But you had reached out, and I figured, I need somebody to talk to about this. So who better than to get Kenn on and have a retailer perspective, but
a first-time retailer perspective as well. So
that's even better.
Yeah, it's a double uniqueness.
Okay. Sorry, had to finish my lighting there. I got to talking too much. Yow.
Careful.
That was my thumb. May have just. Ooh, that was good. Lost a little bit of my fingerprint there, but that's all right.
I know. I use one of these, and these bad boys will definitely hurt you. So
I figure, you know what? It's good to lose a little bit every once in a while to throw the feds off.
There you go.
That way, it's never quite exactly the same. Anyway, so all right. So this is your first time, at PCA, because obviously you just purchased it. Now let's give real quick. I know you've been on the show before, but let's give new listeners a brief introduction. You purchased Ash Ale when?
September 1st last year. It was previously the Humidor. It's in European Village in Palm Coast, Florida. Just a little area just between St. Augustine and Daytona. We're about 2 miles from the beach, and we have just a small footprint. We have about 1,000 square feet, but we're in a little area called, as I said, European Village. We've got assorted, we have 8 different restaurants. We've got shops. It's in the middle of what used to be a hotel, now a apartment complex. And it's just like almost a destination within itself. Every weekend we do live music. The store itself, every Tuesday night and every other Thursday, we do live music. So we have a lot going on and have just a great time, and have an amazing collection of locals and members, and just support us fantastically. And then our foot business for tourism has it's been picking up and gaining speed. So we've been very blessed. Good.
So obviously this is your first PCA as a retailer. And so going out there, what were your thoughts? What were your preconceived ideas about the show? And then when you got there, did your preconceived notion match up with reality?
Well, most of my preconceived notions came from listening to your show last year, from when you guys were there. Was it last year?
Now, we didn't go to PCA. We went TPE. Yeah.
TPE. Just from going to TPE, excuse me.
Yeah.
I just was basing things on that because I had never done a cigar show. So I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out from listening to your show, and then when you guys were there, and then putting what I was expecting, because my whole background's hospitality and going to food shows and things like that my whole life. I wanted to see how close they would be. And truthfully, they are fairly similar. What I wasn't expecting was the grandness of how big the facility, the amount of reps, vendors, displays, and everything that there were going to be.
And I will say this, as somebody who's been to TPE but never been to PCA, I've talked with people who go to both, and they say that TPE is nothing in comparison. That PCA, well, the booths are just so much bigger, and it's just such a bigger, grander event. So you went to the bigger one of the two.
Yeah, that's what my understanding was, talking to the people that are there. I mean, just looking at the Padron booth, the Atabeg, Byron, Alfonso, and United was amazing. Going to seeing Trey Mack and Aladino and Terrence and Aganorsa's booth, it was impressive. And getting to see all the guys that you talk about and that you know and meet them and all of that. Trent over at Luciano and things like that was amazing. So,
and you got to meet Renee from Villiger.
I did meet Renee with Villiger. I actually spent quite a bit of time over at Villiger with my rep Hector, he and I have just been together. He's been part of my shop since the very beginning. So it was very nice being able to sit there, meet Renee, and try their new cigars. And
did you try the 1888?
I did. I have one or two of them sitting here now. I tried the, I have a few of their cigars right now that I'm looking forward to trying. The new Miami, which is not a Lancero. It's more like a Toro size.
I've got one of those inside the house that at some point I'm going to fire up.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if I have one or two, and then I've got a bunch of other products from them. So just looking forward to their new products that have come out. The Miami Lancero that they had out did a fantastic job for me. I went through, I think I ordered 8 to 10 boxes, and they were off the shelf. I have one left.
Oh, wow.
I have one cigar left, not one box. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a heck of a good mover for me. I'm upset that the Exclusivo 2022 is gone, because I truly love that cigar. That and the Nicaragua is a very, very nice smoke as well.
Yeah, that day Nicaragua was really good. Although I will say that 1888 Nicaragua, I really did enjoy that, smoking that with Renee on the show. And I'm hoping, I don't think that's a limited thing. I'm pretty sure that was just a new core line edition.
Yeah, I think you're correct. That's going to become a new line.
So that's great. I mean, it's a fantastic smoke, and I think that's wonderful that it's going to be available, regularly. Have you now? You're probably not a TAA store.
I am not. Unfortunately, there's not many of them across the country. And for my understanding, my parameters of where I live in with my small footprint and my dollar volume, I can never be one, unfortunately. So, But I think I got handed a hidden one of those TAA from last year that I am thinking I might have to try this evening on the dock.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Because I fired up the TAA from this year on the last episode that I did, the one prior to this one. And holy cow, that one, the Villiger partnered with Aganorsa Leaf to produce that one. And it's a good cigar.
I am looking forward to it. I've got it sitting, hidden away. Well, I only came back with a few cigars from PCA, so I don't know. I think I counted 100. Yeah, only about 160.
Oh, okay. Only a few. I thought, okay. So the sarcasm is heavy and dripping there. Okay.
Yes,
I was
very. It's just like the humidity here.
And here too. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how did you come back from PCA as a retailer with only a few? I'm like, you weren't doing your due diligence, buddy.
Just to give you a sense, this is the bag I have to carry them in.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. No, I'll tell you, that first year I went out to TPE, which was 2020. I came back with a small duffel bag just jammed full of cigars. And, for a variety of reasons, I think they cut back on the amount of samples that they were giving out in shows after that one, be it supply chain issues and, there are fewer rollers, so they don't have as many cigars to give away to anybody and everything like that. But but yeah, my personal samples have been smaller in subsequent years than 2020, but 2020 was a good high water mark, man. So, then again, see, here's the thing. I'm just media. You're retail. They want to give you samples because they figure if you smoke it, you'll enjoy it and you'll put it in your shop. With me, I'm just a guy, so like,
well, I think we need to partner up on this next one and get us both going around. So
there you
can introduce me to some people and I can get you some more cigars.
A little trick or treat action going on. I like that idea. So anyway, all right, you get to Vegas and first day is that Friday, correct? It was Friday, July 7th. Now that was the kind of the unofficial first day. That was like pick up badges and Friday, then they had the party that night.
Correct. They had the party that night. I actually got in on Thursday, went down on Friday, got my badge, and then we went to the opening party where Espinosa and a few other aging room and a few other people were doing some cigar giveaways in the open bar. And apparently when I walked in, I wasn't sure what was going on. So I was probably about number 1,250 in line.
I heard it was a long line.
And so I'm standing in there. As I walk in the room, I just filtered into another line some way, shape, or form. I was like, what are we in line for? The bar? They go, no, to get cigars. I was like, okay. The process took an awful lot longer than we thought. It was a 2-hour welcome and greet. And I was in line for an hour and 25, an hour and 30 minutes. And to finish the line was David Espinosa, or Eric Espinosa, excuse me, with Guy Fieri handing out knuckle sandwiches and taking photo ops.
Oh, okay.
So there was a reason. I didn't know what the reason was. And the uniqueness about that is I actually graduated with Guy Fieri from UNLV in 1990. So when I went up there, so I was out there and I was like, hey, dude, I don't know if you remember me, but and he didn't. So it was all good. But I did give him a card and asked him to come to the shop if he was ever in Florida again doing the show.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So like, a couple of alumni stayed in there with Eric Espinosa.
Yeah, it was actually very cool.
That's neat. Now, your experience sounds very similar to others that I had been told that, it was about a 2-hour meet and greet or, pre-party, and that you stood in line for about 90 minutes of it and to get cigars. And I don't know. I've heard a few rumblings. I'm not going to repeat them here, but there were a few rumblings about that event that, whatever. But all in all, I mean, it sounds like it was a very well attended event.
It was. There was a lot more people than I anticipated. I didn't know what to expect for my first one. I didn't know how many people would show and things like that. And I was in line and I met some great people just standing in line. Being that I went there by myself, my daughter who works with us is at the shop, but she was at the show. She went to see Miranda Lambert that night with her mom and her sister.
Yeah.
So I was there by myself. So I had to meet someone so I can get a drink while I was standing in line so I wouldn't lose my place in line. So the guy standing right behind me is from a little town in Georgia called Valdosta, Georgia, where my wife has basically lived for 8 years when she was younger. So, and our good friends who just moved down here are from Valdosta. So I started talking to him about his shop and then things in Valdosta. And then I was like, I got to go get a drink. He goes, would you get me one too? Because I'm dying for one. So we partnered up and we just kept walking back and forth and getting drinks. So it made it a lot more convenient. So.
Well, that's good. And it's nice that, you had a connection to his neck of the woods so that you could, have that connection between the two of you. That's really convenient. So then let me ask you. So then the next day, Saturday was the first day of the actual show. Did that crowd kind of translate to the show? Because I've been told, I was told by a number of people that it was kind of hard to pinpoint the size of the crowd at the show because while booths seemed to be kind of busy, the aisleways were pretty empty.
It was a very good description they gave you because there was about the first hour of the show, hour and a half, 2 hours of the show, there was business. But other than that, it did feel like it was kind of slow. And as the days went on, it even seemed slower and slower, but I don't think it was. I know a bunch of people did leave on, gosh, I'm getting my days confused because of Vegas and being up all night most of the time. On Monday, it did seem a lot slower than any of the other days.
That makes sense. I heard a lot of retailers that were out there for the weekend, and then they bailed like either Sunday night or Monday morning to get back. And so then Monday and Tuesday were significantly slower than Saturday, Sunday.
Definitely, they were not as busy, but it was a very hard conference to get a judge of how many people were there.
Okay.
Just by the lobby bar in the hotel at the Venetian where we were staying, you can tell that there were a boatload of people there because it was just always packed. So it was interesting to see, because being able to gauge when you have Nick Perdomo and a bunch of people standing around in the lounge bar and everyone wanting to go up and meet and talk and visit and all of that.
Yeah.
It got so crowded in there that it was almost hard to get a drink, which is unusual in Vegas.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I'm sure you could tell that they were all with PCA, because if it's like any other trade show on earth, everybody is still wearing their neck badge. Like, I never understood that. It's like nothing says, "Hey, local robber, come and steal my wallet." Like, I'm wearing a neck badge that says I'm from the middle of freaking Indiana or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's a tourist. Let's roll him. You know?
Exactly.
Which brings me to my one point that I did want to bring up. On the first day, it was announced that PCA 2025, so not next year, but the year after, is going to be held in New Orleans.
Correct.
April the 11th through the 14th. And now I will say that brings up a very interesting a very interesting point that I want to give you a heads up on. And I guess whoever ends up listening to this, will also hear.
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for this. You're looking so intently at that.
Yeah. So let me point out PCA 2025, New Orleans, April 11th through the 14th. But you know what else is going on at the exact same time?
Don't say the Baptist Convention.
French Quarter Festival, which is the second largest festival in New Orleans behind Mardi Gras. Last year, it brought in 875,000 people. And French Quarter Festival in 2025 will be held April 10th through the 13th. So I would recommend that anybody who wants to go to PCA in 2025, book your hotel now, because you're probably fucked if you wait until the last minute.
Oh, good Lord.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I've got to reach. Well, this should be fun. I've got to figure this out now, because because I'm going to miss next year's PCA because I've already got prior engagements to go on a cruise.
Yeah.
But I will be at TPE next year, but I was looking forward to going to New Orleans the following year. So I've got to figure this out.
Yeah. I don't know if PCA realized that was the case when they made that booking, or maybe they've somehow or another partnered with, I would hope that they've got some sort of hotel partnership that they plan on announcing, saying, hey, we've got a block of rooms reserved here and here. But, manufacturers might be all right. But man, if you're a retailer, because there were a number of retailers who, about a week or two prior to the show will send out a list of all the retailers that have signed up to the manufacturers saying, hey, Ken from Ash Ale, he's going to be at the show. And then that way those retailers can reach out, or manufacturers can reach out to you, set up appointments, things of that nature. And they kind of know who's coming, right?
The emails that I received in the final week was tremendous.
I bet. But here's the thing. From talking with people that were at the show this year, there were a number of people who just decided at the last minute that they were going to go. And it was no big deal for them to make that decision because flights were available, hotels were available, things of that nature. If you have a festival going on at the same time that draws in nearly 1 million people, you're not going to have that kind of availability to just be flexible with it. Yeah, exactly.
That flexibility is going to be all the spontaneity is going to be taken out of the event.
Totally
especially changing it for the third time in 3 years.
Precisely.
On dates.
Yes. So this is my little PSA to anybody listening. If you are interested in PCA 2025, start looking into hotel rooms now, because you might end up on the outside looking in if you wait, because there's a big festival going on at the same time.
And my suggestion, I was just in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Don't drive in, just Uber, because it took me 2.5 hours just to get my car from our house that we were in, a half a mile to the parking garage that I was parking in. It took over 2 hours. So do not drive if you don't have to.
Yeah, no, that's a good tip too. So anyway, that was announced, and I wanted to, that was one thing that was definitely on my to-do list of things for this episode, was to give that little public service announcement, you know. But anyway, so day one, who'd you visit? What were your thoughts?
Day one was an eye-opening experience. Walking into the room for the first time, you walk in and you come in through these 6 doors, and there's Gurkha sitting right in front of you. They got the main booth right in front of the door. And you're looking at it going, and it's literally like probably 70 feet long, 80 feet long by about 25, 30 feet deep. And it was already packed. So from that, you're just like, wow, where do you go from here? And then the conference hall, the convention center opens up, and it just turns into this enormous, beautiful facility. My first day, I really didn't have any expectations. I didn't have any plans. I literally just wanted to walk and see the floor. I had a few appointments already booked. So I just went around prior to the appointments trying to get my lay of the land and see where things are. Watch how people were interacting since it was my first show. You can definitely tell the difference between walking into a booth as a small store in reference to watching these guys who have 15, 20 shops behind them, what they call whales in Vegas. The attendant level definitely goes up. But,
so it's funny you mentioned that, because that's something else that's, you know, on my list of notes of things to mention that I was told, you know, at this year's show. From what I was told from both retailers and some reps, I was told that the theme of the show was the big boys helping the big boys. And what I mean by that is the big companies, you know, the large companies were given mega deals to the mega retailers. And that if you were a small, mid-sized to smaller retailer, you weren't qualifying for those deals.
well,
You know,
purchasing points were pretty hard for a small store for like me to hit. A lot of them started at 10 or 15 boxes. And I have storage space for about 14 to 24 boxes in my store, and that's about it. So I literally order 2 and 4s at a time. And it makes it very difficult for me because, first of all, because of the lack of storage, I get hit with a lot more transportation costs because you can't spread it out through as many products. So my costs I have to be careful of because I don't want to get robbed on. I'd love to buy big bulk, but I just don't have the ability and storage for it.
No,
So
that makes sense.
It did seem that a lot of it was hard to do for a smaller store. But I do understand why they were doing what they were doing because of production. And that way they also know what this show gives them such an idea of where their production is going to be for the year. That it's pretty interesting to watch. The business aspect behind cigars is so much different than my previous life, where it was in food and beverage, where it was a continual buy, where people buy a lot now for cigars and then they can hold on to it. In food, I only had the ability to do that because everything had to be rotated so quickly. So if I were to commit to, say, if I were to go into, say, I'm going to use Terrence and Agador, so I wanted to buy 400 boxes for the year, I could literally buy them at the show and get billed at 5 times in the year and have 5 different shipping points with food. In cigars, they bill all and send it all at the same time. So for that purpose, it's very difficult for the small purchaser. I understand why they do it, but it still makes it a little more challenging for the smaller guy to get his foot in the door with the good deals.
It does make you bring up an interesting point. And that's something that not every manufacturer is going to have the ability to maybe work on something like that, you know, where they could offer a payment and deal shipment structure like what you're talking about. But I would almost wonder if somebody like, I don't know, like an Al McAuliffe with McAuliffe Cigars, you know, he's got, you know, he's a business guy. He's done a lot of other different businesses aside from cigars. You almost have to wonder if maybe that would be something that, you know, he might be able to consider implementing with his in order to help out smaller shops like yours. So Dan Thompson, if you're listening, it might be something McAuliffe Cigars wants to look into. But anyway,
It would be a good trend to start within the industry.
Yeah.
Because it would definitely help out a lot of people, and they would actually get a better purchasing product up front and know their usage throughout the year, where they can plan it through the year if they can do it that way as well.
Yeah.
So, but I understand the business end of it. Buy, ship it, you don't have to think about it, and I understand that. So
yeah, no, that makes sense.
What was cool though, there are some people that are doing specialty cigars that, like, I'm going to use Trey Mac. Aladino's coming out with a new cigar, and
Yeah.
the only way you're going to get it is if you ordered it at this show.
That was the Dark Sumatra. That'll be coming out in
Correct.
October. Yeah.
Yes. And I thought that was pretty clever. Everyone can order as many as they want. It ships in October. You don't get billed until October. They
Yeah.
already have the footprint of what I was talking about, spacing it out. If they can just expand on that and help people out a little bit more, I think that would be the trend where the industry would see a good helping hand to help smaller businesses as well.
I think that would be good. The other thing that I've talked to Dan Ponder over at Riverman about this, and, he's brought this up, and you almost have to wonder, what it would take. And I would think that it would almost have to be, I mean, you'd either have to have a group of retailers that really kind of are friends and know each other really well, or you'd almost have to have a localized group that could do this, but almost form like a co-op, to where, like, let's say there were 4 other cigar shops around your size in, maybe a 50 square mile area of Florida there, and you 5 shops sent one, you kind of went over the deals before you went to Vegas, and you sent one representative to Vegas, and that representative collectively bought for those 5 shops. And then from there, it's shipped to one location, and the 5 of you kind of drive into that location, pick out your stuff, and then go your ways, to where you collectively could maybe get the buying power to get the deals that maybe one shop could never get, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. And it's actually something I talked about with 2 of the shops in my local area.
Okay.
In the future. So
I just don't know how that would work with
licensing
and taxation and everything like that.
In our area, I know in Florida that we can sell from shop to shop at wholesale pricing if we wanted to. So here I know we can do that. I don't know about other states and other licenses. Of being new to the industry and trying to learn more and more about it. I know
every state's got different rules.
Yeah, and parameters and all of that. I can't even have a warehouse because it has to be stored on property. So it's things like that. So unless I claim,
I was wondering about that actually with you, because you were talking about how you didn't have storage, and I was thinking, like, could you get like just a small bit of either warehouse space, like a corner and warehouse space, or a storage unit or something like that you could like.
I'd have to get a separate license for it, just so they'd have to be able to come and sample it and go and visit it and make sure that it's all locked and keyed and all done properly and all of that as well. So the answer is probably yes, I could. Do I do it? No, because it's an extra headache, and I'd have to go and pay rent somewhere else and make sure it's the power's always on and all of that, just to keep the humidification levels correct and all of that.
Yeah.
So I guess the answer is yes, I could. It's just a matter of how much work does someone want to put into having that purchasing power? Does it buy you enough to offset the cost of renting something else? Do I save that much more money or not?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think doing it as a co-op, like you were talking about, and like I'm talking about, it maybe it'll be able to get you you could go to like the 20 and 4 deals or something like that, to where, like, collectively you guys buy 20 boxes, and then maybe there's 4 extras that get kicked in. So now you're all getting, instead of getting 5 boxes a piece, you're all getting 6 boxes a piece, something like that, So yeah, it would be one of those things where I just don't know. Yeah, that you'd have to run the numbers on that, but that could be something, to look for, but I don't know.
Definitely. It definitely can work. It would just be a matter of the logistics and figuring out the dollars and cents, as you said. If 4 people are working on it and sharing it, that makes a lot more sense than just having one store doing it.
So the other thing, going back real quick, we were talking about how the big boys were kind of making deals with the larger retailers, and that the deals were maybe a little less friendly for the smaller ones. What I heard from all of my conversation with everybody is that because of that, by like day 2 of the show, what ended up happening is a lot of the smaller retailers were basically like, well, if I can't get really good deals with all the big companies, I'm going to take a look over here. And I heard that the boutiques and the smaller companies were just on fire.
It seemed that way. It definitely did, because that was one of the game plans for me. I like boutiques. So
Yeah.
my game plan was, I believe you've had these folks on the show before, Big Sky.
Yes.
You sampled one of their cigars. I went actually over to them and I just went and tried all of I have a sample of about 5 of their cigars to try. And I'm thinking about doing things like that, bringing in some more smaller boutiques that are very good. I did bring in one while I was at the show called Jake Wyatt.
Okay. Yeah, I'm aware of Jake Wyatt, and we've had those guys. We interviewed them at TPE. I don't know if we've actually had them on the show, but
their product is excellent. I have really enjoy their cigars, and I did bring in 3 lines of theirs.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for delivery of those sometime this week or possibly into the beginning of next week. I figured I'd give them a few days to get back and get their feet steadied after a show like that. So
yeah, there are some companies like Perdomo where like you'll get your shipment while you're still at the show.
Yeah.
If you put it in early enough, but then there's the smaller guys, you know, they got to get back and they got to pack the boxes themselves sometimes. Yeah. So, you know, exactly.
Meeting Nick and meeting Gerard from Jake Wyatt was fantastic. Spending time with them and having them go with the passion and explain their cigars. And I knew I wanted their product before, but when I got there and met them, it was when I was like, okay, this is actually going to happen now. So it was very nice.
Wow. Speaking of nice, I want to talk a little bit briefly about this, the Didier, the Jill. I just did a retro hail, and man, that's where that Nicaraguan spice comes into play. It lingers, man. The pepper, it lingers in the nostrils. It's not really bad when you first do it. Like I didn't hack up a complete lung there. But it's one of those ones where, man, it just hangs on. It's just now starting to kind of like leave me. But this cigar has been really, really great. You're right. The draw on it's been wonderful. The construction on it's been wonderful. Smoke production's been great. I mean, I'm really digging this cigar.
Is this the first one you've tried?
Yes. This is the one that you sent me, and you know, you're like, hey, you need to try this. And so, yeah, this is the first one I've had. I'm liking this. Yeah. I you know, for somebody who's looking for a smaller boutique brand, but offers maybe like a luxury, a little bit higher end smoking experience, this is definitely one that I would say a shop should consider.
Yeah, this is a very nice cigar. Price points on these are a little pricier than most.
Yeah.
My average price with the DDA line, they range from 23 and go up to 50.
Oh, wow.
Stick. So they have the Solomon, which is their brand new release for this year. That is a truly amazing cigar, but price points right at the $50 mark, 47 to 50.
Yeah.
The one we're smoking is 26.
Okay.
So
okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because that's something that coming into PCA seemed to be a thing.
You were getting attacked there, dude.
I got my gun. I'm ready. No, I've got the salt gun. I am ready. All they need to do is land, and I'm taking one out, because it has been so bad lately. For regular listeners of the show, you're aware that I have a very large bush on the side of my driveway. And it's overgrown as hell. My landlord's been so neglectful of this piece of landscaping. And for the last, I'd say 2 weeks or so, the amount of flies coming out of that bush has been exponentially larger. So I'm almost wondering if some unfortunate critter may not have met its end in there, and I have something that's like, you know, attracting flies, because they've been very thick here under the carport in the JRE Tobacco Aladino Mobile Studios here lately. So my landlord's going to be getting a text message here as soon as we're done recording. But anyway, ooh, there's one. Hang on. No, safety was on. There we go. All right, he's dead.
Nice shot.
Dude, I hit 2 with 1 shot the other day. I was so proud of myself. I felt like the what was it, the Brave Little Tailor, the Mickey Mouse cartoon, you know, it's like 2 with 1 blow, you know, and all that. Anyway, all right. So coming into the PCA, it seemed like one of the things that was being talked about, and I know I talked about it briefly, but you know, others have talked about it as well, is kind of the higher price point cigars. You had the $300 Oliva, you had the $100 Rocky Patel cigar coming out. You know, obviously Steve Saka with his Unicorn, you know, the $100 cigar. It seemed like there were a lot of high dollar cigars being put out this year at PCA. What would you say? I don't know if you talk to many people to know, but like, I know what I've heard, but I want to get your perspective on it. Would you say that was a successful tactic, or do you think that maybe retailers were looking for more in the affordable price ranges?
I think we go back to the kind of retailer that we are. There are the big guys who, in this, depending, obviously, it also is location.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that there was, I talked to a few of the folks in the South Florida who have a very high-end inventory list that were extremely happy about that because they have the clientele that can support that.
Yeah.
But I also was talking to, as I said, I talked to the guy, Mike from Valdosta, Georgia, who was looking at it and going, that doesn't help me because I don't have the people who can support that there. I can buy a box and it'll last me a year and a half because I'll only have 10 or 12 people who can come in and buy that at this time.
If you're lucky.
I'm in a situation where if I brought in a $100 cigar, I more than likely can turn it fairly quick because I do have a lot of high-end tourists and regulars that are within my area that do look for those specialty cigars.
Yeah.
But I think in general, I think the high price ones, they have to be out there because there's definitely a market for them. And once they come out, it doesn't make a difference. They're all going to be sold anyways, whoever has them, because people will search and find them. But it doesn't help the smaller stores because they're not going to get the ability to buy them because those are off of a tier project anyway. So you have to buy X amount before you can get to that.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge I see with having products like that. If you could buy if you buy 20, you're eligible to buy 1 box of these $100 ones. If you buy 50 of them, you can get 5 boxes of them, things like that.
Yeah.
So they are definitely meant for a specific market, and you can see that they're trying to keep it within a specific market because they don't want to, for lack of a better word, whore themselves out.
Yeah.
And go into retailers that are not worthy of selling a $100 cigar.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, from what I was told, again, you know, I spoke with a couple of retailers, manufacturers, reps. You know, I tried to get a nice across the board kind of feel of this thing. And from what I was told, I do not believe that the expensive Oliva and Rocky Patel cigars were too terribly successful for those companies. I think that, you know, they sold some, but I don't think that there was quite the demand. I don't think anybody sold out. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Again, I'm hearing rumor. You know how this goes. I'm kind of, you know, putting that caveat on it that I'm just passing along hearsay here. But from what I heard, you know, the drive and the demand was more for, you know, the cigars that, but to your point, there are shops that are saying we need a higher dollar cigar. You know, we need something that costs a little bit more because, you know, look, not to get super political or anything like that, but my God, in a post-COVID world, we are definitely living in a world of haves and have-nots. And if you have, you are willing to spend, and the companies are more than willing to jack up the prices and make it so that you you know, can spend whatever you're willing to spend.
Exactly.
And you know, and that sort of thing. I mean, I was just talking with somebody the other day, and they said that the national average for the price of a new car right now is $45,000, and a used car is $27,000. I mean, it is ridiculous. I mean, my God, you know,
who can afford?
I mean, I bought my car in 2019 and it was used, and it granted had 11,000 miles on it, so it's practically new, but I bought it for 22, you know, so I was close, but that $5,000 makes a difference. And the average car payment is like $700 and something a month.
How do people afford it today with the young kids starting off and everything else? I mean, forget the young kids, just middle class
average
America.
people.
Yeah, middle class America.
Look, Ken, that's a like, cry poor or anything like that. But if my car were to break down tomorrow, I would be one of those people saying, how do I manage to go out and get a new vehicle if I'm looking at a $700 a month car payment? I mean, my rent is $800 a month, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting world we live in. And so I guess that's my point, is coming back to the point of cigars. I was curious to know, kind of how the crowd was going to react to that. But you bring up a valid point that I guess it really does depend on the shop and the clientele.
Yeah, you can definitely tell just talking to the people that I talk to, I would imagine all ranges of the business class that was there, from very small shop owners like myself, having one store standalone by themselves, and all the way up to people like Smoke Inn down in West Palm, who has a corporate company that has 4 stores plus 1 or 2 or 3 people who license out their name. And the purchasing powers that they have, it's totally different. So, and those guys look for that kind of stuff because, as I said, they live in the world where Trump is, Tiger Woods and things like that are all down there, and they have standing orders that are huge.
Yeah.
And these guys want the best of the best because they want to have to set up all 6 of their houses or their boats and their houses and things like that, so they can move the product.
So a gold label, Oliva is going to be no big deal. Yeah.
Right. And that, as I said earlier, I have that $50 DDA here. It was the first box I got on his new line that was just delivered about 2.5 months ago. All new packaging and everything. It was the first box of mine that sold out.
Okay.
So, I mean, people are interested in that. I do have the clientele, and there are going to be, every store should have a few people that are going to do it. But to get a box of, I have to buy them in boxes of 20. So it gets costly.
Say that's an expensive buy right off the front.
It's an investment. So you have to make sure you market it, and you can't just have people walking around your store and just let them pick what they want. You have to become a true salesperson, find out what they're looking for, what the occasion is. If they have the money to spend it, you show it to them. If they don't, you can't, because that'll just scare them away from everything else, because they're going to think everything's that price. Precisely.
Out of curiosity, what is the most expensive cigar you've got in your place?
Actually, the one I just told you is the most expensive one. $47 is where my price point goes to. I would love to have the unicorn. I would love to have a few of the other higher ones. Do I need them? No. People don't know DDA, but when people are looking to spend money on a good cigar, and you know the product and you believe in the product like I do, it's an easy sell for me to sell that product. And a nice story goes a long way as well. Exactly. And I carry the Padrones line. So I've got the 80th anniversary, the little hammer. I've got the number 1s. I've got the number 9. So I do have a good selection all the way up through that price point. So that's good. That's good. So moving forward throughout the show, you were there all 4 days? I didn't go out on Tuesday, unfortunately, but I was there all the other days. Yes. Okay. So let's kind of go through your, kind of looking bigger picture. What were some of the products that stood out to you? Were there some cigars that were announced, or some of the products that stood out to you that were highlighted that you were really into? Actually, I think the biggest one that was for me the most interesting was El Septimo. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but talking about making a bang at a show, their booth and their presentation and everything was second to none. And let's be honest, now we're talking more big dollar stuff again. Yeah. They've got cigars that, average price, I think, is $40 to $50 on their cigars. I know they start at 18, but they also go up to 300. Yeah. If I heard that correctly. So, and they have their own cognac, they have everything. And the folks who own the company and run the company are fantastic. I've got to meet them. This is the second time I got to meet them. Okay. And they do an amazing job. But it is a tougher product for someone like me to carry, because I have to bring in a fairly good sized order with them. And then to keep product moving in that way, it's difficult for a product at that cost. But for sure, talking about a quality product, it's a fantastic packaging and fantastic smoke. And going back to your point about needing to be a salesman, because they are not a brand like a Padron or
even an Olivia or Rocky Patel that
Right.
has a name, an established name behind them, you not only have to tell somebody, hey, this is a really great product for this price point. You also need to educate them about the brand as well.
Correct. So the investment in time on your sales is going to be a little longer. And again, for a place like my size, there's usually one of us working at a time. There's very rare that I have two people in the store, except for on a Friday or a Saturday night, possibly, or Sunday day, which is one of my busiest days. So it becomes, is it a balance between time and selling or taking care of all of the customers? Because we do a hands-on approach to everyone. Anyone who walks in here gets greeted, asked 3 questions, showed them around. Very few people come into my store where they just come in and just walk around. If they're not touched within the first few seconds, then we haven't done our job.
Okay.
So
interesting. So then what else other than El Septimo caught your eye?
Luciano was a great presentation. They did a fantastic job. Gosh, everyone, Fuentes display there was second to none.
Now they shared space with JC Newman this year, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
they did.
And I know Newman. They announced that new cigar that they're doing with that artist. Hang on, I can.
Yes.
I should have had that.
They also did a collaboration with someone that you did do on your show, Karen Berger.
Oh, did they?
So they've done a collaboration that's being released this week as well. So I'm getting that in the shop here.
It's JC Newman celebrates famed artist Leroy Neiman.
Leroy Neiman,
Yeah, they're doing a special cigar for Leroy Neiman.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So but that booth was crazy. I mean, talking about hardly being able to get into the booth. They had coffee station on one side, a drink station on another side. They had the whole center part was displaying their Opus line and all of their for sale products, humidors, lighter, everything. Padron did a fantastic job. Their booth was huge. And they showed the collaboration between them and I just lost
Fuente.
Thank you.
Yes.
So that was a beautiful display. But
were they taking orders on that this year or not?
I couldn't even get a salesperson to talk to me because they were all busy when I went in. So, and then going back later on in the show, it just, for me, I didn't want to waste time because there were so many people talking. If I wasn't going to purchase something, I didn't want to waste the salesperson's time because I know how important these shows are.
That's fair.
It was impressive to see that box though. I would love to be able to get one. I think they made a run of 50,000 of them, and they had a box 49,562 was sitting there.
Okay.
It was absolutely beautiful, but again, would I be able to sell something at that cost in my store? I don't think so. So
yeah, well, you never know though.
That's a good point.
You have 2 very well-known brands partnering up on that thing, so you're going to get the Padron fanboys and the Fuente fanboys both interested in that. And that one, just due to the partnership alone, you may not have much in the way of sales responsibility on that. That may sell itself. I think
you're right, because everyone across the country, I've actually had phone calls because I carry 30 some odd facings of Padron.
Okay.
And I don't carry any of Fuente though, because I just can't. The ones that my folks want, I would, the tiers to get there, I would never be able to sell through here.
Well, and more than likely, it's one of those things you'd have to buy all the core line stuff and everything in order to then qualify to get to the Opus stuff. And
it would take a quarter of my shelf space just to get in the base product before I can even get to the top tier, which again goes on dollar volume, and I just don't push enough dollar volume.
No, that makes perfect sense. I did see that Perdomo announced their 30th anniversary.
Yep. It was a beautiful cigar. Actually, the last night on Monday night, I was sitting there talking to one of my reps at the lounge bar, and Nick Perdomo was standing with us, and Michael Hertzclaw and all of that. So I unfortunately did not get to say hello to Michael. I did say hello to Nick. I didn't realize it was Michael until afterwards. And I was like, the one person came to the show to meet was Michael. And he's like, if you would have told us he was standing right next to you.
Well, damn.
Yeah, his back was to me, so I couldn't see his lanyard.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. You just got to look for the best dressed guy in the place.
And he definitely was. He definitely was.
I'm telling you, Michael Herklas, he looks like he stepped out of a GQ magazine every time you see him. It's amazing.
I did listen to him talk, and I kind of thought maybe that was him, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't push the point. But
yeah,
I was in a very unique circle of people. I was standing with Jeff Grover, who was my rep for Aganorsa, and he does my Oscar, the Island Gym line, and he does a lot of my accessories. And he brought me in to meet the guys from Smoke Inn down in West Palm, and then they were all standing with everybody else. So I was brought into the circle. So I was sitting there and I did a lot of listening because, again, being new in the industry, I wanted to figure out who was who. I recognized Nick instantly, but I did not, because of where the angle on Mike, I could not see his face very well.
Yeah.
And then when he walked away and Nick walked away to get into another meeting, but Nick had a box of the 30th anniversary with him and was just handing them out to people. It was very nice to see. And he was so personable and everything.
Good. Anything else that caught your eye that you want to highlight and promote?
It was really interesting seeing a lot of these boutiques, how they were dealing with folks and all of that, because I could see, as a small business person myself and being in business for a while, the passion and the love these folks truly have for.
There we go. He was right on the edge of my iPad.
the
trying to not shoot the camera, you know.
Yeah, and their personalities going to people and trying to sell their product just to get people to see what they have, because they know they have a quality product. So it was really nice to see. There was, like, I don't know if you know GTO Cigars.
No.
It's a doctor out of, I want to say Oregon, but I'm not positive, who started a line of cigars that are very nice. I've got a few here. I'll actually send you one so you can try it.
Oh, perfect.
And I've got a few other samples here. One of the things that I went for the show for is that I really have a lot of veterans and military and first responders that come to my shop. And my goal was to find one or two lines of their products, or veteran owned or military owned or police owned products, to bring into the shop just to help represent and to support. And that was one of my focuses. So I spent a lot of time with those folks, and the love and the product that they have is really, truly amazing.
I don't know if you found it, but Warfighter Cigars.
You mean this one?
There you go. Those are good, man. Those are good.
I've got them. I've got another company called BAMD. That was a very nice product. There were several others that I have in here that, off the top of my head, I just can't remember the name, but I do have several others. But there was a lot bigger showing than I thought. I thought I'd only have one or two to see, but there was probably 5 or 6 different vet-owned products that were excellent.
I'll tell you, Los Kaidos Cigars, Steve Zengel, I think. He passed away earlier this year. That would have been a great one. And to be honest, and this is me showing my ignorance, I don't know what happened to the brand after he passed away in April. He was such a one-man show that it's very possible that company went away with him, which would be really unfortunate because, if you go back, I think it would have been sometime in May or early June that I did that. I replayed the interview that we did with him back in 2020, where he talks about the line and everything. And he had 2 cigar. It was one cigar. It was one blend, but he had a blue band on one and a red band on the other. And anytime there was a sale of one of the cigars, money would be donated to the families of fallen police or fire. And so that was a great thing. That's good. That's good.
It's nice to see that people are out there trying to help and be responsible for brother, I guess it is, because they are brothers when they work in that same industry. They're family. So
for sure,
it's very nice of these guys to work together to help, because they see and they go through all of the stuff that we hear about day to day, about the suicides and the people who are not getting help and all of that. So it is great to see.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, I'm glad that so overall, overall impressions of the show. You had a fun time?
Oh my God, it was fantastic. Yes. Overwhelming at first. And then on day 2, when I was able just to go through and just enjoy and go to the different booths and interact, awesome. The people that you meet, the camaraderie, and just to see how small a world that we really do work in.
Yeah.
And the true love of everybody in this industry with the product, meeting other people and the camaraderie, just sitting down and being able not to know anyone and come up to the bar and there's an empty seat. You mind if I sit here? Please, you need a cigar? Everyone's offering cigar. It's truly amazing.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I love to hear that. And I'm looking forward to making my way out there for next year's show in late March because like I said, my FOMO was off the charts this weekend. So I'll make sure it happens next year.
My suggestion to you, if you're going to do that, make a good appointment times because there was a lot of media there trying to get in with people.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, I wish you guys were here because it would have been just real fun to just sit and watch you guys doing what you did like a TPE last year, just to watch that interaction. So, I mean, just watching that, I actually re-listened to that show just so I can go up to certain people and say, hey, with this conversation you had, I'm interested in this product. So for me, that was a very big benefit. So.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, the show is actually productive for you as well, that we were able to, help out in such a way and give you something to look forward to.
Definitely. You guys definitely put me on the right path on seeing who to talk to. And then it was funny because of this show, people who listen to your show, I met several of the viewers and listeners who came up and said, hey, I know him. I've heard you. I've seen you and things like that. So it was kind of interesting. So
interesting.
Yeah, being in the industry only a year, so people coming up to me was not something that I was expecting to see or have.
There you go.
The best one was with Renee. When I walked up to say hello to Hector, all of a sudden I see this guy running towards me. I was like, "Who's running at me?" And Renee goes, "I was told I have to say hello to you."
Well, you mentioned to me that you were going by the Villiger booth, so I sent Renee a message. I'm like, "Hey, you got to look for Ken from Ash Ale." And he's like, okay, we'll do. So that's great.
It was very nice. On the last day, I believe it was on Monday, they had the folks from Switzerland in. So he was very busy. So I got to say hello for a minute, but I spent some time with Hector and got an order in and all of that. So it was very nice.
That's great. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Well, why don't we now go ahead and jump into the One Must Go?
Uh-oh.
We all need to live united, but one must go. Brought to you by United Cigars, makers of La Giana Havana, Abuelo, Red Anchor, Firecracker, and of course, United Cigars. Distributors of Jose Dominguez, Garofalo, Montosa, and Terra Nova, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and Bandolero. Buy United, Smoke United, Live United, United Cigars.
I thought about blasting one that was landing on my arm, but I quickly realized that probably was going to result in me hurting myself. So I'm going to not. So it's time for the One Must Go. And I've got one that's looking at it, I think it's going to be difficult. So we're going to get into this. So One Must Go: touch, sight, hearing, or taste.
Wow.
I know, right?
Okay. Well, since before COVID, I had a very good sense of smell and taste. But once I had COVID, I lost 90% of my smell and about 85% of my taste. So that for me has been tremendously difficult.
Has it come back?
I'm getting it back very slowly, and it's now 2.5 years since 2.5 years since I've had it. And I'd say I've only got about 10% of my taste back, and less than I'm probably about 15, maybe 20% of my smell back. So those are still very difficult because I'm a foodie. That's my whole background is food and beverage and everything. So for me, that's tremendously difficult. But I'm not sure that is a tough one, huh?
It is a tough one. Or tough one, because I'm sorry, I was looking down at the card and I saw touch is the first one there. It is a tough one because touch. I mean, my God, you process so much through just touching something.
But the sight though is going to be a tough one because at the show that I was watching people who were blind or on the verge of being with walkers and having people guide them,
Yeah.
that would be an extremely difficult one with the amount of obstacles that are just placed in our way that you just don't realize. Like a lot of the shows that I've gone to in the past are perfectly straight lines and all 90 degrees, and you can almost deal with that.
Yeah.
But this show, you literally would walk, and I'm on aisle 1300, and you walk 200 feet, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and there's a booth there. You're like, hold on a second. So for people who are in an impaired situation, that would make it extremely difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I can see I don't know if there's a good answer to that, because
Oh no, this is definitely one of those, like, you're losing one way or the other here.
Yeah, this is, and I feel bad for the people who have these challenges already in life. Once I lost the sense of taste and smell, for me, it was horrible. I didn't enjoy eating. I didn't enjoy doing anything really that had to use those senses, because I just felt like I was missing out on something.
Yeah.
So that is a good one.
I mean, my eyesight's not great, and you know, I've thought about you know, LASIK, and let's be real, LASIK's not going to cure me, but it might at least help me a little bit. But I'll be honest, I'm paranoid, because I'm thinking, like, look, my eyesight's not great, but at least now I can correct it with lenses. Whereas, like, if I go and, you know, when I have a bad day, I mistype a headline in the newspaper and have a typo for a week. You know, guy doing LASIK has a bad day, I'm blind, you know. So like, I really don't want, you know, that to go down. So
I'm with you, because I've had 20/10 vision my whole life, and once I hit 50, I'm down to, I have 20/10, but I can't read numbers or letters anymore at all. So I have to wear cheaters, and for me, that's been a challenge, just to remember to carry the cheaters so I can read a menu, to read an inventory list, anything like that. So they all have obviously their downfalls, but if I think I had to pick one, I think it would have to be taste and things, because I don't know if I can get away from not being able to see, feel, and hear.
Or hear.
The hearing would be hearing might be the one I'd have to go, but now that I've lived with no taste for 2 years and understand that I can only get generalizations and not specifics.
Yeah.
I've adjusted to that.
So you've almost already done this, is what you're saying.
Basically, I think I would have to go with taste for me personally, because the first 6 months were brutal, agonizing.
Yeah.
But now you do lose a lot though with missing taste, because there are certain things that you eat and you're expecting to have the reaction from when you were a kid that brings back memories that just don't happen anymore.
See, and that's the problem. And that's the thing. I love, you know, I obviously love food, and, you know, I like my cigars and just everything else and it all involves taste so much. And I don't know if I could willingly give up. I think if gun to my head, if I had to pick one, you know, hearing would probably be where I would go, because, you know, look, the hurdles to climb after that would be difficult, because, you know, realistically, I'd have to learn sign language. I'd have to learn, you know, be better at reading lips and whatever else. But, you know, I just don't know if I could. I don't know if I could give up, you know, touch. I'm not going to give up. I don't think I could. I don't want to give up sight and taste. It would take away the joy of like you're talking about, cigars and food and everything else. I just don't know if I could do that.
I've got, with the taste, I get certain nuances that I can work with now, because I've done it for a while.
Yeah.
Cigars were the prime example. I lost all my ability to say, okay, this is a cinnamon that I'm tasting in this one. I'm tasting some nutmeg. I'm tasting raisin is one of the flavors I got back. I don't know, raisin, fig, and some berries. So that helps me out with some of the taste. But I also now I understand I have to rely on the sensations on my tongue to be able to go with flavors. One of the things that I've done very well and adapting is with my clientele is being able to say, you like this cigar, this one you'll like just as much because of the same flavor profiles. I can't tell you what those flavor tastes are, but I can say by the profile, the way it affects my tongue is very similar to this one.
Okay.
So once you figure that out and understand it, it becomes very easy to live with because you just have to be a little more cognizant of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could live without hearing, because so much of our life is of a retailer's life is paying attention.
True.
And with my hospitality background, I don't have to be part of a conversation, but if I'm sitting with one of my members and we're talking and I've got another person in the shop and I hear them say, I need a beer, I get up and get that beer, and they don't understand how I knew that. Just
Well,
because
yeah,
I heard
'cause
it from across the room.
paying attention all
Right.
over the place.
The
Yeah.
360-degree awareness for me is, I think, more important than the taste that I'm losing for myself. My whole
Yeah.
life has been giving to others, so I would much rather have my sight, hearing, and touch so I can help others rather than concentrate on myself.
No, that's an interesting perspective, and I guess it does depend upon, what you're using them for. I mean, I would obviously hate losing hearing for, a variety of reasons, not the least of which is, music
Right
and
here.
everything else. I mean, yeah.
Look at yourself right now. This conversation, you'd have to be reading everything, translated.
Yeah.
I would have to be sitting specifically in a spot in front of a camera so you can read my lips.
Yeah, and I don't know how well that would actually go over, to be honest.
Correct.
Yeah. So, it'd be difficult.
Especially with the people you interview, you communicate with a lot of the people down in Nicaragua, Honduras, and they all have accents. Doing that would be very difficult.
Very difficult. Very difficult indeed. Well, interesting. Definitely food for thought. So,
I'll have to go with taste then if we're going to lose one.
All right, there we go.
The One Must Go segment was brought to you by United Cigars. United, we smoke.
Okay, and so this is the point in the show where I need to switch buttons on my board. So for those of you listening on the audio side, we're going to go video only for a segment, and you can check that out on YouTube, and we'll be right back on the audio side to continue the show. So we are now video only, not audio only. And this will be my little YouTube exclusive. So why don't you, what was your absolute favorite moment from the show?
If I had to pick one moment, I have to say it was that last night that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Where I got to be included in that group of these behemoths, and me being a little guppy in this pond made me feel like I was accepted. So again, it's the personality and the ability for everyone to have a camaraderie because we all have a common love for something.
Okay.
So I think that was probably the best of the whole show. And it happened not only at that one point, but it happened several other times throughout the event when I was in different booths and things like that.
That makes sense. I mean, I always like it when I'm at a show or at an event where, you meet some folks that, and you just end up in these conversations.
Exactly.
And, looking back, you're like, how in the hell did that happen? But before long, you're sitting around and, like I'm sitting around a table with Oscar and Manuel Quesada and Jeff and a couple other folks. And we're just sitting on the back of Corey's back porch, just talking and, trading stories. And Manuel Quesada's talking about his experiences in Vietnam and this and that and whatever. And you're sitting there watching Manuel and Oscar Valladares talking back and forth about cigars. And you're just like, how in the hell am I sitting right here? How did this happen? And those are the cool moments.
If you need a specific one, I'll give you a specific one. I'm standing on the last day. I'm standing with my wife and her kids, and we're walking down the aisle, coming out of a booth, and Paul from Aganorsa is walking down the aisle, and he goes, "Hold on a second, I know you. I've been to your shop." And I was like, "Hold on, how do you remember me? This was a year ago."
Yeah, yeah.
So to me, knowing that someone who has his own line, his own brand, has a huge booth and has people like Terrence and all this working for him and all these icons in the industry can remember that. That was awesome to me.
That is good. Well, and you know what? That's the sign of somebody who is good at their job, that maybe they don't remember names, but as long as they can remember faces, and they can say, I know you. I don't quite remember exactly where, but I know you. That's impressive, because we as humans, we want to be known, we want to be recognized, and what is it they say that when somebody remembers your name, it's like one of the highest compliments, and everything like that, so I mean, it goes a long way to be remembered, like you're saying, somebody who remembered you from a year ago, remembers you. So very cool. Well, why don't we now go back to the audio? And we are back on the audio side here. So now let's go ahead and jump into, before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into the Villiger Entertainment segment. And that's brought to you by Villiger Cigars. Villiger Cigars, Ken knows all about them. They're fantastic.
I do. I've had that product in my shop since day one, since before I worked here. We've had them, and I've had a great relationship with my rep and everything. So, and then getting to meet Renee after he did the interview with you, once he became a sponsor, was just the icing on the cake. Because I do watch the show I've listened to every episode. I think 3 back, unfortunately, because on this trip I was planning to listen to the last 3, and the flight just it was just too loud. There's too many kids, and I just couldn't enjoy it. So I just turned it off and put on some white noise and tried to sleep.
That's all I ever do on the plane is sleep. But guys, if you're in the Palm Coast area, swing on by Ken's place and check out the Villiger Cigars. And if you're not in the Palm Coast area, head on over to Villiger Cigars website. They have a great store locator on there. You can find out stores near you that have Villiger Cigars. And we were just talking earlier about the 1888 and some of the other great lines that they have in their portfolio. You're going to want to check them out. They're fantastic cigars.
Definitely. And if you're a first timer or just a beginner, one of the best cigars you can try is the Villiger Creme, Kreme. Excellent smoke. Just as the label says, it's got a nice, smooth, silky finish. So it's a very easy, great starting cigar. But once you start smoking it, it's a great one to continue with because it's such a great cigar that it has a vast area of flavor profiles. So
that's the Connecticut one, correct?
Correct. And the Black Forest is the Maduro.
Mm-hmm. We smoked that on the show the last time that you were on. Yeah. Fantastic. So this is a point when we talk about, entertainment that we've been consuming and everything. So what have you been watching? What kind of entertainment have you been able to consume any entertainment? You've been so busy here lately.
I don't get much time in front of a TV, but the last few things I've watched, I just watched John Wick 4. Probably, I think it was the night before I headed out, and wow, I truly liked the first 3. The 4th one was a roller coaster, though. It was a great show. I think I missed the ending because I think I may have fallen asleep, so I actually have to go back and watch the last 8 minutes of the show. Yeah. Because from what my memory is, it looked like he died. I won't say anything. So
yeah,
I was give it away. No spoiler. I apologize.
I'll be honest. I've only seen the first one. It's always been one of those ones. I really liked the first one, and it's not that I've avoided the others. It's just they've come out. I've been busy, and next thing you know, they're out of the theaters, and now they're on this and that. Yeah. And one of these weekends, I need to sit down and just marathon through all 4 of them and just do it because I did enjoy the first one a lot.
It was a fun roller coaster, a little more far-fetched than some of the other ones. There were some scenes that you're just like, whoa, dude, hold on. Reality has to come into play at some point, but fun, entertaining, done well. So I'm interested to see what happens next. So I got to go back and finish that. I've watched a few series. I kind of into sci-fi, not into Shadow and Bone. I just watched the last season. I've watched I'm into Yellowstone, so I'm waiting for, I think that's getting released here shortly. So I'm looking forward to the last of that. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 4.
I haven't seen that one yet either.
That was pretty good.
I've been behind on the Marvel movies, although I have been watching that new show, Secret Invasion, that they put out on Disney Plus, the one with Samuel L. Jackson and the Skrulls. So
I literally watched the first 10 minutes of that and fell asleep because I did it right. I couldn't sleep one night and I put it on
it's a slower one. It's what's kind of cool is that it is more of almost like a spy thriller. Mm-hmm. So it's not your average just superhero fare, but at least not so far. But it is. I can see where if you're tired, it's probably not the best show to jump into at that moment.
And everyone says that first few minutes is tough. So I've got to give it a better chance. I'm not saying that it was a bad show because I fell asleep. It was just it was just timing.
But I've watched the first 3. There's the newest one just dropped, I think yesterday, and I haven't watched that yet. Now I am caught up on The Righteous Gemstones. I did. I think I talked about that the other day, but I did catch up on that, and I don't know if you've watched that at all, but man, that show is freaking great.
Really?
And
What's it on?
it's on HBO, and it's got John Goodman, and he plays a like a TV evangelist, kind of mega church preacher. And he's got his kids, and Danny McBride is one of his kids, and then the guy from Workaholics, and then there's a gal that I don't know her name, and they're just horrible children, and they're taking over the church and this and that and whatever. So you've got all of the shenanigans that they get into, and it's a really good comedy drama, spoof on organized how do I put this? I don't want to say organized religion, because it's more like the consumer side of religion. But Walton Goggins is in it. And Walton Goggins, he's one of those guys. Listeners, I don't know if you recognize the name. Trust me, you will recognize the face if you Google him. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was in The Shield. He was in Justified. He's been in all kinds of stuff. He plays Baby Billy, who's John Goodman's brother-in-law. And Baby Billy is the pinnacle of just snake oil salesman, preacher guys, man. He's the I'm bringing you the good word of the Lord. He's got the gray hair and everything. And he's just a slime bag, and I love him so much. So yeah, I've been watching that.
I started Tulsa Kings.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet, but I heard it's great.
I am on episode 3, and that is doing really well. And then I also watched Schwarzenegger's Fubar, and I loved. That was really good.
Now that's the one with it's him and his daughter, and they're both working with the CIA, but they don't know
they have been for the last several years and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Excellent show.
I need to check that one out too. That one, that's Netflix, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I finished that one, and I'm only on episode 3 of Tulsa Kings.
Okay. Interesting.
Fun shows. They go by real quick. Watching Stallone and Tulsa Kings, though, is just like, wow. It's pretty interesting.
Now, on the podcast side, I did complete listening to the 13 episodes of you have somebody visiting?
Apparently my back door is locked, so one of my members, Don, is letting in James.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, I did there's a podcast I've been listening to, 13 episodes of it. It's called Who Shat on the Floor of My Wedding? And it's a takeoff of a true crime podcast. So the long and short of it is, the crime is that somebody decided to poop on the floor of a wedding. And so throughout the 13 episodes, they're doing an investigation where they're reaching out to the guests and talking to them about, who defecated on the floor of the women's room at this wedding. And I'll tell you, it sounds ridiculous, but you get so hung up on it, because there's this guy, Hank, who was hanging out in the women's room for 4 hours, just chilling out by the basins, talking to people as they came in. And apparently the ladies had no issue with it, because, he was there, and, somebody was bringing him food and drinks, and he was, eating appetizers and drinking booze while hanging out in the ladies' room and everything else. And his explanation was, well, when you're at a party, typically I hang out in the kitchen, but I couldn't hang out in the kitchen here because it was a commercial kitchen. So the next best place for me to hang out and be social was apparently the ladies' bathroom. So, whatever. And it went all over the place, but I did enjoy Who Shat on the Floor of My Wedding. And then I just finished listening to another podcast. It was 10 episodes, I believe, called The Freeway Phantom. And that was all about a case in Washington, D.C. in the early 70s, where these young Black girls were being abducted and killed and dumped on the side of the highway. And
I listened to a podcast called the Serial Killer Podcast.
Okay.
And that was one of the stories in the serial killer podcast.
Well, and it's interesting because it's one of those serial killers that kind of got forgotten by history, because it was before many of the big serial killers were doing their thing. They weren't even called serial killers in the early 70s. And then due to the fact that in Washington, D.C., you had all the Vietnam protests and you had everything else going on, the media coverage of these murders really wasn't all that great. And so, it's one of those cases where unfortunately it wasn't solved. And these poor girls just never really got the justice that, they deserved. And but it was interesting to listen to that too. So,
yeah. I've listened to the whole line of the serial killer podcast. It was when I was younger. I was very fascinated by serial killers growing up in Los Angeles and things like that. We had quite a few in our area. So
California, man, you had a lot of them back in the day. Yeah.
So, but it was very interesting. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, there are only 2 episodes. There's 2 episodes per conversation or per topic. And they're about an hour and 40 minutes, and maybe right at 2 hours each.
Okay.
And unbelievable how many haven't been solved, and the ones that are solved, they give you some more information and some background that you just didn't get over the news and things like that. So it's pretty interesting. A lot of them took place back in the early 1900s all the way through to modern, to Jeffrey Dahmer and things like that. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah, if you want to find one, that would be one that I would recommend. That was pretty good.
There was one called Monster, and the second season of it was all about the Zodiac killer, and that was done really, really well. I like it when they bring in snippets of audio from newscasts and interviews with other people, and really mix up the audio, really produce it well. It's not just somebody just sitting there and just, because I've listened to some of these true crime things where it's like 2 people just sitting there and one person's just telling the other person the story about it and everything like that. And before, it's just them just telling you, and did you know this, and blah, 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 blah. And I like it to be really well produced. So when I find those, I really like it. There was one about Steve McNair, the quarterback, and his murder that was really, really well done as well. And I don't remember if you guys are interested, just Google Steve McNair murder podcast. I'm sure you'll find it. But that one was done really, really well as well. So
yeah, I used to drive a lot in the car for work, and I spent a lot of time listening to podcasts. Just had a blast with them. Great way to take your mind off of everything else and just dive into something that you haven't been into before. So
for sure,
that's a great idea.
For sure. Well, why don't we now go ahead and jump into this?
Guess what, motherfucker?
It's time for 3 cigars we smoked and enjoyed this week. And boy, I always love doing that drop when I have like a manufacturer or somebody on that maybe doesn't listen to me regularly, because they hear that and they're just like, whoa, what the hell kind of show am I on? But anyway, so yeah, why don't we now go ahead and talk about 3 cigars we smoked and enjoyed this week? And I'm sure you have got a lot of options to pick from.
I smoked a lot of cigars this week, so
I would think so.
This is going to be a little more challenging because there were some fantastic ones.
Well, do you want to go first, or shall I?
Are we doing this in no specific order, or are we going to go?
No specific order. It's 3 cigars you smoked and enjoyed this week. It's not like one of them is the top cigar or anything like that.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure which way we were playing it.
Yep.
I'm going to go with the El Septimo. Da Vinci is one of my top 3.
Okay.
It's a little more full-bodied cigar than I typically have, but what an amazing smoke. Just an abundance, even with someone with a lack of taste like I do. The sensation that I got was truly amazing. The smoke production, the quality of the roll, the vitola itself was just a unique look. It's a torpedo on both ends, for lack of a better word. But it was just a great smoke.
Very good.
So
my first one is the Plasencia Alma de Campo. That would be the kind of gray and white band Plasencia cigar, and I picked that up while I was out at the Office Cigar Lounge in St. Robert, Missouri. And I mean, look, Plasencia, that's another brand where
fantastic.
It's a fantastic smoke. Price point on it tends to be on the higher side for me, typically in the like $20 range and above. So I don't smoke them on the regular, but every once in a while I see them and I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to splurge and I'm going to do that. And I picked up that cigar and I enjoyed that the other day out on the patio, and it was a fantastic smoke. I really did dig it.
One of my favorites is my second one would, if I had to pick, would be one of my truly favorite cigars is the Bandolero.
Oh, okay.
The Series T.
Yes.
What an amazing cigar. Just the flavor, the again, construction, flavor, everything is just so nice that you can sit down no matter where I am. I know it's going to be a great smoke, and I just always look forward to having one of those.
Okay. My second one, I fired up this past weekend. After my kiddo went to bed, I was able to steal a little bit of patio time and enjoy a La Flor Dominicana Andalusian Bull that I found in the bottom of my humidor. Didn't even know I had it. Was digging around in the humidor, found it, and I was like, how did you escape me? So I sat and enjoyed that was a long smoke. I probably got nearly 2 hours out of that guy. And fantastic.
I stockpiled that one.
Yeah.
I think I've got 10 of those in my humidor right now that I just, anywhere I can find them, I buy at least 2. I'll smoke one and I'll put either one, depending on how many they'll let you buy, because it's usually 2 per person.
Yeah.
But that's the one I absolutely love, that cigar.
You'll have to find, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, but I'm not putting that in mind because I haven't smoked one of those for about a month or so.
I get that. That's one of those ones you'll have to figure out who bought the there was that NFT that La Flor Dominicana did for that Golden Bull or whatever it was. It was a special version of the Andalusian Bull.
I heard of it. I've never had it.
And that's the thing. Only I think like a handful of shops bought the NFT because it went for a pretty penny. And when they bought the NFT, that gave them the ability to get that cigar. So it was limited just essentially to those retailers. And I don't remember who they were, but you can track those down and you can theoretically get yourself one of those special Golden Bulls at some
I'm
point.
gonna have to find one now that you brought that up.
There you go. So what's your third one there?
My third one, that's a good question. To put it where with what I've tasted. I'm actually gonna have to go with the Jake White that I smoked.
Okay.
It was the Monarch. It was fantastic. It's a Dominican. I don't smoke a lot of Dominicans, but man, was that a great smoke. The one I'm looking forward to from them is the appendix and the fourth dimension, a totally unique Figueroa. You'd actually have to pull it up because it's got a loose foot on one end that's just twisted. The other end has that pigtail, but it goes from very narrow to very thick on one end. And it's got a double wrapper. So one is a Maduro, Connecticut, and one's a Maduro, Habana.
That is one of the things that Jake Wyatt does that I've noticed a lot is they have very artistic looking cigars because they have a lot of design on the wrappers.
Yes. That's one of the things that drew me to them. So
yeah, no, they're fancy looking cigars. I like that.
And their price points are excellent for their quality. So that's one of the reasons I liked it too, because they're right in that $12 to $18 price range.
Yeah.
And it's just for a beautiful, great smoke. It's a great cigar.
There you go. My final one is one that I smoked the other night. It was just a little Robusto. It was also something that I dug out in the bottom of my humidor that I didn't realize I had, but I had the Monte Cristo Nicaragua series. And that was one that I think they did with AJ Fernandez based off the little label there. And, it was a good cigar. It had a nice little bit of punch to it and smoked wonderfully. I mean, it like I said, I just needed a little short smoke, and the Robusto there was perfect for that. And it worked great. I really enjoyed it. So Monte Cristo Nicaragua series.
Nice smoke. Nice.
There you go. Well, why don't we now go ahead and hear a little bit about My Monthly Cigars? This would normally be the time that I give some information about My Monthly Cigars, but I've hired that out this week. So take it away.
My Monthly Cigars is a premium cigar subscription service. It comes in a variety of different size boxes at affordable prices. Use offer code PULPIT and get free shipping on your first box and 20% off any items in the online store at mymonthlycigars.com.
That's offer code PULPIT. Thanks. So, while you're over there at mymonthlycigars.com, make sure you try the fucking good coffee. He's got the Lounge Blend. He's got the Pulpit Daily Press. All kinds of great cigars or coffees over there, as well as cigars at mymonthlycigars.com. Anyway, so the Didier Jill collection. I just Googled that just to get a little bit more information. Oh, I gotta confirm that I'm 21. And come on, onward. There we go. Fantastic cigar. In, like you said, coming from Esteli, Nicaragua. I mean, it was just I finished mine. I got down to the little, the absolute end there, did a little last minute retrohale there, still that pepper and spice to it. But it's not overpowering. It's not something that's going to bowl you over and slit your throat, but it had a lot of good flavor, both in the smoking experience and the retrohale. But I can't say enough good things about, the construction of it and everything. I mean, smoke output was fantastic. I mean, it was really great. So that was a 6x60.
Yeah.
Does it come? It doesn't look
That's
like
it. No,
it only comes in the one size.
All their lines are only one size.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. And it's interesting that they would go with a gordo for that size.
Beautiful packaging. Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you just one of their boxes, but their packaging is second to none. So hold on 1 sec.
All right, no problem at all. While he's grabbing that, we can go ahead and touch on the socials here. I'm available at the Cigar Pulpit as well as on Facebook or on Instagram. And then on Facebook, I have the Cigar Pulpit Parishioners Group where you can join in on that fun and promote what cigars you've been smoking. We're on Twitter, where I don't really do much of anything. YouTube, where you can watch this. And guys, I do need your calls for the Ask the Boys segment. That's going to be coming up at the end of the month. Area code 863-874-0000.
So, but just to show you that some of the quality that goes behind this packaging.
Yeah.
This is their package.
Okay.
It's a linen top that has the name on it, and then on the front it has what the brand is, the line that it is, and all the measurements. Then you flip it open.
And there's another.
It's a package within a package. So
yeah,
it's
a nice looking box there.
That's just the lid, and then
whoops.
Then there's that. There's another lid that sits on top of this, and then the cigars are sitting inside the cabinet. So
okay,
it's done extremely well. It is a very hard product to find. I believe they're only in 100 shops across America right now.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, and he's trying to keep it small. So and at one point, what I'd love to do is, if I can, I'd love to see if I can get him on this with you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
He's going to be supposed to be in the shop here next week or the week after, so I'll see if he'd be willing to do this with you.
That'd be great. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. So where can folks find out more about Ash Ale and you?
Well, right now my website is under design, and that should be up hopefully within the next 2 weeks. And when that happens, I will send it to Nick so he can put that out. But I'm on Facebook at Ash Ale Lounge, Palm Coast, and Ash Ale. Or you can look at the previous name, the Humidor, on Facebook, and it'll forward you to my page.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm on Instagram at Ash Ale. And then I don't do Twitter at all. So I rely mainly on my daughter, who works in the shop, to take care of all of my marketing. I am not a social media person. So I've got my daughter and my wife and things who take care of all of that. So they are getting it tried up and running right now. So
there you go. Got to have a team, man. You got to have a team. So
how it works.
That's exactly it. Well, Ken, I really did appreciate the cigar. I appreciate the conversation, and I'm glad you had a great time at PCA.
It was fantastic, and I appreciate you inviting me on to do this again with you. Thank you.
No, this has been great. And then for those who are in the Palm Coast area, I don't know, if you want to tease an event, a couple months from now, but
I can do that.
Mid-October,
Yep. You want to go ahead and do it? I'll let you take it away.
So October 18th, correct?
Yes. Yep.
October 18th, you're going to have Mickey Pegg from All Saints Cigars at Ash Ale. And, it's About 95% there. Just got to align a few more stars, but I don't see why it can't happen. I'll be making the trip down there and partying with you and Mickey Peg in Palm Coast.
Sounds good. We're gonna look forward to it, and we'll take you out and show you a few other lounges as well, and I'll bring you down to Karen Burger's store and introduce you to those folks and
Love
things
it.
like that. So we'll get you a good few days.
Love it. Looking forward to it.
Definitely.
And it'll be great to get into some nicer weather in mid-October because St. Louis can be touch and go by mid-October. So it'd be nice to get down to sunny Florida at that time of year. So for those of you in the area, put that on your calendar, October the 18th at Ash Ale in Palm Coast, Florida.
Looking forward to it.
It'll be great. Well, Ken, I will let you get on with your day, but thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on and talk to me about PCA. I know, you just got back from the show yesterday. It's been kind of go, 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 rush, 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 but I do appreciate it.
I appreciate the offer. Thank you very much. I had a great time.
Thank you. Guys, this has been another sermon from the Cigar Pulpit. I'm Nick.
I'm Ken.
Everybody stay safe and stay smoky.
Have a great day, guys.
These flies are really irritating me. I'm going to have to do a little hunting here in a second. So anyway.
Did you get my last text?
Have I gotten a text? Oh, there it is. And yes, you're right.
We need to do that.
I will do my level best. I will do my level best. So, well, Ken, thanks so much.
I appreciate it, Nick. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't know how you smoked that cigar so fast. I must have been doing way too much talking.
It's okay. It's one of those things. You were talking, I was smoking. It works out. So
I appreciate it, man. Have a great day.